I don't know how many times I come on here and say this, but it's almost bears repeating, especially when you hear people like, let's say, Alex Six, it's just Alex's world, or just Alex Central, come out on social media and basically say, you know what, I'm not going to review Raw or SmackDown anymore, or I'm going to choose when I do it because it doesn't interest me, as much anymore. But yet, at that same time, you're showing favoritism towards AEW, and yet AEW is going through some negative stuff too. And you know what that does to people like Alex, to people like JD, to people like Solid Monster, OTR Central? You know what that does? That shows, that basically shows them in front of a whole plethora of fans, millions of fans, thousands of fans that enjoy the same stuff they do. It shows that they might be nothing more than hypocrites. I mean, when people look at Alex and they hear what Alex is saying, when he says, I'm not going to review Raw and SmackDown unless I'm led to do so, unless it interests my peak, or I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that. But yet at the same time, they see him showing favoritism to AEW. In their eyes, those fans' eyes, he's a hypocrite. He's a butt kisser, to Tony Khan and AEW. He's not a true wrestling fan. If he was, he wouldn't say that kind of stuff. He'd be more like, you know what? From here on in, when I do my reviews, I'm focusing on the positives and I'm ignoring the negatives. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. Because by doing so, it may not be as an interesting podcast or live stream as it normally is, but at least you don't have to worry about any negative dragging you down. Just focus on the positive, and that's it. Focus on the good. Because when you keep coming out and complaining time after time after time after time after time, repeatedly saying the same stuff over and over again, people get tired of it. Even people that understand and support you and can see where you're coming from get tired of it. And they're basically like, enough. Enough, Alex. Enough, JD. Enough, Solomonster. We get it. You don't want Vince around. We get it. Please be quiet. Please focus. Instead of focusing on Vince causing trouble or Vince doing this and that, why don't you focus on the good? That is what they're trying to tell them. That's what they're trying to tell them, because what it seems like to them is they're becoming obsessed. I mean, it's no wonder when I look at some of these, comments on Twitter and Facebook, and when Alex or JD and Solomon us to say these things, it's no wonder people get on them. I mean, look, Alex and JD and Solomon and OTR Central, they have the rights to say what they want to say. There's no doubt. I'm not denying that. I've come out and complained at times of things I don't like, and I have a right to do that. People may not agree with me on my opinions, but I have a right to complain. But the thing is, I don't constantly always do it. And if I do, it's on occasion. It's like once in a while. It's not almost week after week, day by day. And this is what gets people angry with them. It's not just on Twitter. It's not just on Facebook. It's not just on Tumblr or Instagram or TikTok. It's on YouTube during the live streams. Why do you think, Alex, you and JD and Salamonster get trolls at times on your live streams? That moderators like Firestar Heart and Godzilla Hawk and Ultra Shadow, and Cleo does everything for you, Alex, have to, basically, block and get rid of. Why do you think you get spammers and trolls? In my honest opinion, it's the people that are frustrated with your constant complaining. All they're asking of you is to stop complaining, focus on the good, and not focus on the negative. That's all they're asking. To basically stop focusing on Vince, ruining things or changing things up, and focus on the positive. And what they mean by that is you don't have to be like, well, I'll decide whether or not I want to review SmackDown or Raw if it interests me. Da, 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 da. You need to do your job. Do your job, okay? You say this is how you make a living. This is one of your primary ways of making a living. Let me ask you this: if you go to work and you tell your job, you know what, you're assigning me to do this, to work in this area. Yeah, I don't feel like doing that. I'm gonna go work in this area. That don't work in the real world. That don't work, in the workforce area, guys. You do what they tell you. You do your job. Okay? You do your job. The same here. You don't let negativity ruin your enjoyment of work. You focus on the positive. That's what you do. And if I'm Alex, if I'm Solomon, if I'm JD, I focus on the positives of SmackDown. I focus on the positives of Monday Night Raw. I focus on the positives of NXT. Focus on the positives of Dynamite and Rampage. And in the near future, Collision. That's where I focus on. I don't focus on the negatives and let it drag me down. I focus on the positives. So please, as a fellow supporter, as a fan, and follower, and someone who wants to see your product, your channels grow, and see you contribute more to this business than ever before, I ask of you, please, don't give up what you're doing and just focus on the positives. That's all I ask. That's all we ask. Focus on the positives, and you know what? You'll be surprised at how much more you'll enjoy reviewing Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised, more so than anything, of, oh, you know what? I actually enjoyed this Tonight Show. Well, at least the good part of it. I actually enjoyed that. That's pretty good. Start doing that and not focus on the negatives. I mean, I get it. You have to, look, I get it. You have to sometimes focus on the negatives because that's what draws people to your channels. Well, guess what? Times are changing. Times are changing. And you know what? You think people are getting sick and tired of woke and SJWs and council culture ruining things and are basically smiling now that influence those groups have had and everything is falling away as we speak? You think they're happy that's finally being exposed and falling away and allowing all the things they enjoy to go back to the way it was before they interfered? How do you think they're going to feel about you guys? How do you think they're going to eventually feel about you guys once somebody finally talks to you and say, that might have so much influence in wrestling and tells you enough's enough with your complaining? What's going to happen when that person comes around and your complaining starts to fall away? And people are like, oh, well, this, and they turn on your thing, and the first thing they hear is you complaining. What's going to happen? Click! They're going to turn you off. They're going to switch to another video or another channel because they're tired of hearing the negative. That's what's going to happen. So if you don't want to end up in that kind of a situation, start focusing on the positive. Focus on the positive, ignore the negative, and you'll be surprised at how much more you enjoy the product. Trust me, you will. Because when you focus on the positive, guess what? Guess what? The negatives, they disappear. They do. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree with me that these YouTube influencers and wrestling personas and reviewers and others like them, that I'm a fan of, I respect, I enjoy watching and listening to, do you think it's time for them to focus more on the positives and ignore the negatives? Let me know down below and in the comment section. Let me know below in the comment section, I should say, and the live chat. Nearly lost my train of thought there. I just wanted to get this off my chest. But let me know, and until then, I'm out.